Did Jesus really call the Canaanite woman a dog? This is a verse that I've been looking at for a while. It's kind of been off to the side as I'm working on other projects, but I wanted to stop and take care of this one. This is going to reveal itself as one of the common teachings that I've been talking about. And I'm going to do a little bit more with this verse, but let's start with interpretation. And I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing is something different than what you hear in Christianity. What is going to emerge from here is something that sounds like a spiritual teaching from antiquity. That is what is going to emerge. There is one way to inner peace. No matter where you are in the world, there's one way. And that way is nested in this material. And that is what I'm going to be working to extract. And then at the end after I get done interpreting the verse, I want to talk a little bit more on verse structure again. This verse is one to take a good look at that because of a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of variations. So I'll save that for the end. Let's get into the verse interpretation to begin with. And again, I'm going to play it all out into the psyche. The way the interpretation process works is that every bit of material from antiquity, regardless of its source, is going to be treated in the same manner. That there is a nested teaching in there, and that it is held in terms that are analogous to their culture, that are outward looking. But in all reality, we take those terms, we assign them to a designated place in the psyche, and we play them out, and then it reveals an interactive step for inner healing. It actually shows us something that we can work with. There's something hidden in there. And once we extract it, we'll find that there is an instruction, something that we either need to do or something that alerts us along the way that as we're on this path, we might have this kind of experience or that kind of experience, some kind of growth, and that our environments are going to be changing. It teaches us all of those things. So let's get into the Jesus verse, and I'm going to read it first. And I am using the New Revised Standard Bible, and I'm using the story appears a couple times in the Bible. I'll be using the one from Matthew 15:21 through 28, and it is the Canaanite woman's faith. Starting with verse 21, Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Just then, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But he did not answer her at all, and his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us." And he answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." He answered, "It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." And she said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done as you wish." And her daughter was healed instantly. Okay, I'm going to suggest this is theoretical, of course, but that it is so consistent that it is demonstrable. So let's just go ahead and go with it. First, I'm going to suggest something. Many are standing outside the narrow gate. Only the solitary shall pass. We're going to grab this material and we're going to take it into the psyche. Think about that verse for a second. The first thing I want to look at is Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Now, this is not part of the verse interpretation, but for you that are seeking and looking for patterns, what we're going to see in all of the teachings is that whoever is on a path or escape or a search or something, an adventure, a myth, they're going to be moving from place to place to place to have adventures. They might sail, they might ride chariots. There's a variety of ways of transporting from one place to another. A cart if you're in China or Tibet. On foot if you are, inland in the desert. You're going to be walking from town to town. And you're going to find that Jesus goes from place to place, and that at each point along the way, he's going to stop and have an experience that when you decode that, it's a teaching nugget. And that's what we're going to find out of this right here. Let's jump into, just then the Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." Okay, and as a reminder, I treat every verse in here as it needs to be decoded. You look at a lot of Jesus verses, and some of them sound plain language and think, oh, that doesn't need to be interpreted. But this one's weird. That one needs to be interpreted. And then people start varying within that. And that's where it gets messed up. I'm going to treat every one of them as though they need to be interpreted. There's no way to treat them like they're all plain language and historical. Since some of them have to be interpreted and we don't know which ones should or shouldn't, I'm going to interpret them all. I'm going to treat them all the exact same way. And I'll tell you that some of them sound like they're pretty plain language. Cleaning the inside of your cup, letting go of what you're hanging on to are both the same things, but they're going to sound different. And they both sound like they could be plain language, but they play out in the psyche. So we're going to play out everything in the psyche. Okay, and let me start talking about exactly how that works then. I'm going to take a look here, and we see that we've got some nouns here. We're going to take a look at the components that are in here. Just then, so it's setting things up. There's a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." Okay, what we have is Canaanite and woman. Those are two different things. A Canaanite, in this case, it's going to play out in the psyche. The woman is going to be the psyche, or part of the psyche, part of yourself, part of your inner being, male, female, conscious, subconscious. The Canaanite is going to be somebody that is not understanding. The Canaanite is an analog being used for somebody who is currently sinful. We got an issue there. This is a part of you that is not resolved. The Canaanite woman from that region, your region inside, came out and started shouting. This is an intensity. "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David." So there is the setup. You're asking who? You're asking the component part of you that is the one that has the capacity to heal yourself. My daughter is tormented by a demon. Here we have something within the psyche that is stored away, pain, shame, hurt, anger, something that is acting out. That is acting out. Well, how do we know that that is happening? Let's read on to the next one. "But he did not answer her at all, and his disciples came and urged him, saying, 'Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us.'" Okay, first we have he did not answer her at all. So the first thing that's happening is this evil part of you is acting out, and we're ignoring it. Yeah, just let it go. I'm not going to deal with it. The disciples now, those are component parts of our psyche that are our sense of justice, our righteousness, our fear. All of those disciples, their names equate to something in their culture that is a quality, an inner quality that we need to have with us. And these are the disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us." So here we see this part of you that is acting out. She keeps shouting after us, keeps shouting after us. We're seeing a repeated cycle. And the disciples saying, "Send her away." What happens after you act out? What happens after I act out and I scream and yell and I get done and it's played out of me and I sit there afterwards and go, "Oh my God, why did I do that again? What? I have to resolve that." This is your disciple speaking out. And then the part of you that says, that's Jesus ignoring it. This is the part of you that is not dealing with it. Then it goes a little bit wandering here where it's going to set up something that doesn't stay very clear. It does some of that jumpy kind of kludge-like flow that lets you know something isn't quite right here. We need to watch those and not treat this like this is plain language. It's historical. It happened. We'll get stuck. Step back from it and play it out in the psyche. He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." On this path, they're always looking for something that is a destination. And it's going to be represented by different analogs. It's going to be the kingdom of heaven within is what Jesus is going to tell us in one way. But he's going to also use other terminology. I'm going to suggest that nirvana, flowing better in the way of life, spiritual enlightenment, purity, all of these are the same thing. And in this case, in this type of material, in a religious type of material, the analog that's being used to carry that is House of Israel. This story is written, and these verses are written for the Israelites. This is their culture. Who are they going to put in charge? Yeah, them. They don't say the Greeks or somebody somewhere. Yeah, it's always about everybody's religion is about them being Yeah, the house of Israel is analog for I'm here to help the people that are looking. That this is the house of Israel, but the house of Israel is you when you are enlightened. I'm sent only to help the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So he's saying I'm only coming here to help the people that are looking for this enlightenment, this inner peace. If you only know one religion, this is going to sound strange perhaps, but if you're kind of encompassing and starting to look at more things, this will make sense to you. When you are looking for nirvana, you are seeking your Buddha nature to do that. What do we have here? You're looking for a Christ nature to do the same thing. However, one of them is carried in a philosophy and one of them is carried in a religious genre. All right, let's quickly recap and then move on. What we have so far is that they arrived on location there from their last place, and the Canaanite woman, there is a sinful part of ourself that is continually acting out, and there's another part of us that is begging the part of us that is in charge to please resolve this so we don't have to keep paying the price for this happening over and over again. But we're ignoring it and saying that that's not what we're here for. And then what happens? It kind of goes off the rails. This is the part that's fun, though, that keeps everybody busy. But she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. So this is still emerging. And he answered, it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. Okay, right there is where the confusion comes in. This is where you're going to see the reason why people debate this verse, and then there are many, many interpretations, because people want to know literally, why did he literally do that? They're treating it as a literal thing, and it's up to them to figure out why he told her that. However, if you use this process, that's not what's happening. And actually, it doesn't even respond to what the issue was. Remember in the beginning, it was a woman who has a daughter with a demon. What does that have to do with feeding children or dogs literally? It doesn't. So this has to be a spiritual thing, spiritual food, spiritual throw it to the dogs. That doesn't even matter. That verse right there is a setup. This is what matters, because this is what he responds to. This is the teaching right here. This is the part that we need to know. Yes, Lord, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. So here we are ignoring something that is inside of us. We think if we ignore it, it'll go away. But it's being fed by our life experiences anyway, and it's not going away, and we can't continue to ignore it and think that as long as I ignore it and don't feed it, don't give it something, don't give it attention, that it's going to go away. But what happens over time? We realize it's getting triggered by something external. It doesn't matter what I say. It's coming out anyway. So it is still there. It's still being fed. This issue is still emerging. It has nothing to do with dogs. It has to do with issues that continue. They're shifting analogs around and doing things like that, but stay on course. This is a healing process. What does he do? He says, woman, great is your faith. Let it be done as you wish. And her daughter was healed instantly. We're working on dealing with and resolving these issues that are acting out within us. Boom, right here. We just had a self-healing process and instruction on how to do it. Let me make a comparison with another verse in the Bible. And I'm just going to paraphrase this one. I'm not going to look it up. But there is where his disciples are traveling again, and he gets to a place where he's hungered. He's hungry, and he sees a fig tree off in the distance, and he goes up to it, and even though it isn't in season, the fig tree is not producing any figs, so he curses the tree and tells it to die. And you wonder why. If he had the power to curse it to die because it wasn't producing figs out of season, why didn't he just have it produce figs? So the story doesn't make sense. When you play it out in the psyche, we have the same thing, only the analogs are different. Now what we have is something emerging from our garden. And this is now the mind, and what comes out of you is now being called a garden. And what grows from your garden are either fruits or thistles, weeds. There's all manner of things that emerge from us. So what happens in this case, what we're looking at is something is emerging from within us that is not producing anything that is viable for us. And the lesson is for us to get rid of the things. Are you enabling somebody? Are you hanging on to something that is not valuable? Are you giving time and resources somewhere that you go, oh my God, this is not the best way. This is not the best use of my time. That there are ways to live life more simply, and that we need to get rid of the things that are not producing for us. And that we see that those lessons will continue to emerge if we treat them in that manner and play them out in the psyche. Now, there's one more thing I want to do, and that is I've used the verse before, and I'm going to do it again here. An anchored ship will not sail, and show how those three layers of interpretation are really in place, incredibly in place, in the verse that I just covered. The woman being called a dog, the Canaanite woman. So if we were to just go to YouTube and then in the search block up there, type in, did Jesus call her a dog? Or something like that, and we'll get this big list of 3.5, 4, 5, 10-minute videos on people explaining how this actually works. And you know what? Out of all those videos, every one of them is different. What we're witnessing is, take a look at this. An anchored ship will not sail. You don't interpret it. It's a ship in the water with an anchor out. It's just a mechanical lesson. If it's a spiritual lesson, people begin to manipulate it, and they realize that the component parts of the story are analogs for themselves, that I am the ship, that the anchor is something that I'm hanging onto, and that the ocean is life. That's how that fits. And that I am hanging on to an old relationship, a job, a belief, a habit, something, somehow, somewhere. I'm hanging on to something that is preventing me from successfully moving ahead. It is damaging me, and I can't escape it. And I know that I need to let go of that in order to escape. Boom, the lesson sounds wonderful. However, somebody else can come along and look at it and say, I was born in a place where I didn't have a mom and dad. I had no control. I was all over the place. I was in trouble all the time. And I finally got a hold of something that helped me anchor in port and be secure so that I'm not flailing around in the sea lost. And that sounds just as beautiful and wonderful, but they're both opposite. One is hanging on is a good thing. One of them is letting go is a good thing. What is happening there is that people are interpreting that based on their life experiences. And when we're looking through these interpretations here, we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing everything from people who will justify the verse as why you hold yourself as a Christian above other people, that we are good, that they are sinners, that people will use it in that way. And there are people who use it in ways that are encompassing, where there's more of a growth. But it's difficult to make sense out of that verse when you're playing it out in the physical world. Not until we take that third step and play it out into the psyche does it come online as something that is no longer variable. It's a very fixed process. Those parts only fit in one place. The Jesus character is going to be the one in charge. The female is going to always be the part of your psyche that is needing in help. The bad children, the demon possessions, the weeds in the garden, all of those are analogs for bad characteristics that we have playing out in us that come from our childhood, that come from our life experiences, that we carry with us and we're told to keep them inside and we don't get them out of us. And they continue to hurt us in life. And these lessons are teaching us to resolve that stuff. And that is how I find that I can work with these verses, understand them in a way that I can interact with them in a manner that changes my life. I came from a home of abuse and a brother's suicide, molestation, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. Their life was not going to be okay. I did all of these things. And what? Your Father who sees in secret rewards you in secret. This is stuff you take care of inside. It's not how you act and pretend while you're keeping everything, nobody sees this. No, you got to go after that. It's seen somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this verse. Hope you enjoyed it. Love one another, and I'll see you in the next video.